If you're a controller player and you play DMZ in 2024, today's video is for you. Obviously, you've probably clicked on this from my live stream where I stream almost every single night at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where people ask me, hey Lando, what kind of controller settings do you use? Well, this video, you can go back and pause at any point, slow it down, and get exactly the settings that I personally use. These might not be the best for you, but they're what I use. I have over 50 days played. I think we're creeping up on 20,000 operator kills. I'm going to go through them pretty slow. That way people can understand what's going on. We're going to start with the basic stuff, and that is the button layout. This is personal preference, but I play with a PlayStation 4 controller, and I would do the same thing on a PS5 controller. What I'm about to say is I use flip. It's right here, Warzone DMZ flip. You're going to flip your triggers, these right here, to the buttons on top. They're a little bit more responsive, and I prefer to shoot and aim with those instead of the triggers. If you're on Xbox, I do not change this. I've played with the Xbox controller. I do not change, so I would shoot just normally with the triggers. Okay, so you wouldn't flip this. Everything else is the same. Obviously, if you use a DualSense Edge controller or the Xbox Elite controller, Scuff, anything like that, I use a Battle Beaver. It has 2 buttons on the back. Obviously, that's going to be more personal preference. I will tell you what I use. I use my 2 buttons for this controller. Doesn't have the buttons. The one in my hand does. I have 2 buttons on the back. I know that's a little hard to see, but I use that to, my right button is to slide, dive, and then left button is to jump. Okay, that's what it's for. And that way, people ask me, why do you need buttons? You don't have to have buttons. You can do anything without having the buttons. But if you see how I'm holding this controller, you're gonna have obviously your fingers on the sticks. One's gonna be obviously to move and to aim. Whereas if you get into a gunfight, right, you would have to take your hand off the stick and then hit X or circle to jump, dive in the middle of a gunfight. Obviously, you probably don't want to do that. That's why you have buttons on the back, and your hands will stay on the sticks the whole entire gunfight, and you can aim, shoot, and jump without taking your hands off the sticks, right? A little bit easier, definitely gives you an advantage, but you can do this without it if you learn how to play claw. I'm not a person that likes to play claw. This is how you hold a controller with claw. I'm not the person to talk about that, but you can do it. Going on to more basic settings, controller vibration, I have that turned off. Stick layout, I'm on default. Bumper ping, I don't have that on either. A lot of people ask me about my sensitivity, and they ask me, how do you move so fast? Well, first of all, sensitivity doesn't change how fast you move. It just changes how fast you turn around and spin in circles. I know it's a little tricky, but that's the truth. You technically, you just cannot move faster even if you change your sensitivities, okay? Just FYI. This is going to be based off of your FOV, personal preference here. I play on a monitor, so I sit pretty close to it. If you play on a large TV, I would change this. Obviously, your FOV is going to be in your graphic settings. Even on console, it's still there. You don't have these settings, but you do have the view settings. Field of view, I play on 120, right? So that's going to be the largest field of view that you can possibly get, because I play close to my monitor. If you play on a large TV, I would change this to something maybe closer to 100. Probably wouldn't go less than 100 just because you're going to have a hard time fighting people up close when you drop below 100 FOV, okay? You need to change this too. I changed my weapon field of view to wide. Obviously, you can change it on default if that's something you care for. Would not suggest narrow. I like wide, but that's personal preference. This needs to be on affected ADS field of view, not independent. Another setting that I definitely would highly recommend is your first person camera movement. This is set on default to 100%. I don't think anybody likes when you're in the middle of a gunfight, a grenade goes off, and your whole screen is shaking. I don't think anybody wants that. So I would change this to least. At least it changed it down 50%, so your screen's not shaking as bad. Change that to 50, and you should be good. The rest of this stuff, I don't really care too much about. You can change your default perspective to game. That's the way I would rather view. The way if you're spectating someone, it's going to actually see his gun, not the top of his head. Kind of weird, but we'll move on from that. Now, we'll go back into the controller settings. Obviously, I'm on a PC, guys, but you can change everything I'm telling you today on console with a controller, because I play on controller on PC. I play on 6.6 sensitivity. You can play with this how you want, but that's what I'll play on. Obviously, I would turn it up if you're playing at a lower FOV, because you would want to be a little bit, quicker to turn. But that's more personal preference. Another big question a lot of people ask is my sensitivity multipliers. I play on default, man. Everything's standard. I don't change any of this. I have no problem shooting, I feel like. I don't have the best aim in the world, but I can hit some shots. Another one is automatic tag sprint. Please, guys. I know a lot of people don't like this, especially if you're a shotgun user. Put down the one shots for one thing, but on other, I would highly recommend automatic tag sprint, especially if you're playing on Al Mazrah or any map for that certain. you're just going to press forward on your stick and you're going to sprint. It's pretty simple. It's going to take a little bit of adjustment too, but I definitely highly recommend doing this automatic tag sprint. Okay. Equipment behavior, all this stuff is default. The only thing I do change is interact reload behavior. Please try using prioritize interact. The difference with this is versus default, when you go to loot something, all you have to do is just tap it. Instead of holding, like let's say there's an item on a shelf, you don't have to hold square or whatever the respective button is on Xbox. You would just tap it and it would pick it up. And it tells you on the screen exactly what, to do. It's prioritize interact, says tap to reload and interact. Tap to interact and hold to reload when they're available simultaneously. So what that means is, right, so you can just tap square and you would still reload. But the difference is if there's something in front of you, let's say like there's a bag or something, you would have to hold it to reload. It might sound a little complicated, but I promise you it's not. I would highly recommend changing to that. Okay. Armor plate behavior. I have this on apply all. That way, when you hit triangle to put plates on or whatever it is on Xbox, you would put all the plates in, right? Unless you stop it instead of just applying one. I think that should be a default for DMZ. I don't know why it's not. We'll go to advanced. Play on target aim assist. Obviously that's just aim assist. Turn that on. I think the rest of this is default. I don't play on anything different when it comes to aim assist type, black ops, focusing, precision. You'll find videos all over the place saying, hey, this one's the best, this one's the best. Just play on default, man. I've got over almost 20,000 operator kills. I don't have any issue aiming. I would just play on default. Seriously. Aim response curve, I play on dynamic instead of standard. It's a little bit different. It tells you the difference there. I've watched some other guys that play on controller. More specifically, maybe the top tier Warzone guys, they suggest dynamic, and I think that's the best to run too. I play with them all. I think dynamic is the best. If you don't like dynamic, switch to standard. ADS multiplier is a 1-0 for me. Nothing changed there. Input dead zones is a big one for people on controller. This is going to be based on what kind of controller you have, like in sense of, is it a newer controller or older? If it's older, you probably will need to replace it if you have a lot of stick drift. But this is basically going to determine how much input you have to put on your sticks to actually get to move. If this is too low, you'll have stick drift. You don't want stick drift. I would suggest doing something in the middle. I think default's like a 0.15. I would change this to maybe like closer to a 5. Mine's on a 7. I don't have any problem with 7. I feel like that's kind of a medium ground. If you shoot with your triggers, I would just turn this down. I don't use my triggers for really anything special, so I don't mess with this. But if you do shoot with your trigger, especially if on Xbox, turn the trigger input dead zones down. That way it doesn't take as much to pull the trigger. But that's more personal preference there. Like I said, I don't shoot those, so it's not that big of a deal. So that's all with input dead zones. All this stuff is basic. Nothing changed here. We're going to move all the way down till we get to toward the bottom. There's going to be a setting called it's closed. Parachute auto deploy. Next year that's turned off. I don't think anybody wants to automatically pull their chute because you'll just be floating in the air and you'll get shot out of the air. If you have that on, just learn how to pull your chute. You'll be fine. Obviously, I broke my legs. We all have. It's okay. It happens sometimes. All this stuff is default. Nothing changed here. Besides this one, combat behaviors is going to be under advanced and under controller settings. You're going to change this to on. And let me tell you why. This will make it so that you can automatically run without touching your controller. Like, especially for Al Mazrah, since it's a big map. Dude, please try this. Turn on auto attack sprint. Okay. What you're going to do is once you turn this setting on, you're going to move up on your stick, right? So you're going to be sprinting. You're going to press down on your directional pad, right? And when you do that, your backpack's going to open up. And then all you have to do is just let go. Just let go. And you'll be sprinting. So sprint, you don't have to touch your controller. And I highly recommend this setting for anybody on controller that plays Al Mazrah. It's easy. Now, you can, when you're in your backpack, use your stick to navigate your backpack instead of these buttons. Okay? Turn it on. Give it a try. I'm telling you, it's the way to do it. Turn that on, and then all this stuff is pretty much all default. You can try on that quick C4 delete. I've actually used that before, so quick C4, you can turn that on if you want. I don't have it on though. This stuff's all pretty much standard. Nothing changed here, but that is all the settings that I can give you today. I could run through some audio settings. I just play on home theater. I don't play anything special. Obviously, I have voice chat on. I push to talk. I'm on PC, so I might have a couple extra settings here, but that's about it, man. That's all I can give you. I hope to see you guys on stream 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time. Peace.